So without any further ado, I will pass over to Marcos, our Chief Executive, to lead us through the first session. Over to you, Marcos. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Kia ora koutou, everybody. And just to echo Paul's comments, I know everyone is extremely busy at the moment, so thank you for your time. It should be a good market update. Next slide, please. So we are facing quite a challenge in the energy sector, and you, I'm sure, are particularly feeling it. We have a gas crunch. Electricity prices have been rising because of the build out of poles and wires. Now we're in the middle of a fuel crisis and elevated prices for liquid fuel. So this is at the center of what the government is thinking about. It's at the center of what is driving our activities at EECA, and you'll hear later today what are some of these specific programs that we have to help. So I'm going to leave it to the rest of the team to talk through the details, and I thought I would just take a few minutes to reflect on some of the bigger system contexts that we are seeing. There is, I don't want to say, good news on the horizon, but the flip side to all of the challenge is that it is spurring new build and generation like we haven't seen in the last 10, 20 years. And so there is a whole pipeline of renewables that are getting built out. We are all committed to trying to unlock affordable, readily available energy. And we have lots of renewable energy sources in New Zealand. So it is really encouraging to see us try and actually unlock that and build it out. We also have a whole bunch of energy efficiency opportunities that we can grab. We know that through supporting businesses through last winter and the gas challenge, that we were helping businesses save 10 to 30% just off the bat with energy efficiency. So yes, there are some really big crunchy challenges that we're facing in the energy sector. We can use efficiency and renewables to get through it. The renewables are being built, and now I would strongly encourage you as businesses or as service providers to start planning and acting for how you're going to make the most of efficiency and also technology and renewables, because the businesses that move will be the businesses that win. And we've seen that in the past. So one of the big areas for us is trying to help businesses and sectors win through not just unlocking efficiency, but also through things like flexibility and being able to add value to your business. One of the strong takeaways that I would also try and encourage in thinking about how we can help New Zealand in this space is treating energy not just as a cost center, but treating it as a strategic asset for your business. There is so much opportunity to do better with the energy we have. And if we can help equip sectors and industries to be part of the solution through batteries, through flexibility, we will help the whole network be more efficient, but we will also be able to then add an additional revenue stream for yourself. So that is what we are, a lot of our mind is getting turned to. Next slide, please. You may have seen in the last day or two, there has been a really clear statement from the PM that there isn't going to be an energy strategy. So if you're holding out for an energy strategy, I would say we're in an election year, and the election is in some ways, the campaigning has started. And so I would not expect anything between now and the election. So again, this is a call to action that, come talk to us, work with us. We should get moving now rather than wait if you're waiting for the center to come with a strategy, I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't hold your breath. That doesn't stop us from having a strategy and for us to have priorities. And so at a very high level for the country, we've got 3 areas that are on our horizon that we think will have the biggest impact around that affordability and clean energy for New Zealand. So one large area, and I'll unpack it in my next slide, but around efficient households and businesses. Not surprising coming from EECA, but we start with energy efficiency. There's just so much to be had here. this well-functioning energy system is also a big game that we are hunting. We think there's probably about $3 to $5 billion of cost that we can strip out of electricity through better use of our assets, and that's through shifting off peaks. And so we want to try and support that. And then we want to grow the energy pie. There is just a number of bioenergy, geothermal, clean energy sources in New Zealand that we can use to grow. We've got some really big system impact goals there. We can't achieve them alone at EECA. We're going to need to work with with businesses and also with other government agencies, but they're there to try and keep us honest, and we'll be measuring our progress year to year. Next slide, please. So looking ahead, those three focus areas around efficiency, well-functioning energy system, and then clean energy, these are the looking ahead, going forward, these are our seven main work streams. And you can kind of read them here for yourself, but there's a really strong emphasis around helping businesses plan and make the best choices for themselves and also use the best available clean and clever technology. And so we've got a whole bunch of programs that we're developing in that space. And so some of the presentations later today will unpack that, and you'll see our other priorities there. And as you can imagine, with the fuel crisis, clean transport, we're thinking, how can we help businesses right now with their diesel costs? And that'll be another area that Paul and Richard will talk about. You'll also have seen a whole bunch of market activity around demand flexibility, biogas, biomass, geothermal, and uptake of solar. And so we are trying to, alongside making the most of what we have with efficiency, we also want to grow the energy supply side, particularly on the consumption end of it. So self-use of biogas and also unlocking biomass as a resource. I think that's me. That's EECA at a high level. I know it's very difficult. There is going to be, I am optimistic that in a number of years with the renewable build out, we'll be in a much stronger footing. I don't expect gas and cheap gas to come back. If that's something you're expecting, I also wouldn't expect it. LNG is being looked at as a dry year solution for the electricity system. And there's conversations happening around its role for commercial industrial users, but it's not going to substitute $8 a GJ or $10 a GJ type of gas prices. So we really want to help businesses. We don't want to see anybody close down. We want to see the economy grow with clean energy. And so we want to help businesses plan for any transitions they need to do, but also reduce costs with efficiency. And so there are paths for us, and those paths are with efficiency and renewables. That's me. I'm going to pass it over to Richard now.
Thank you, Marcos. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Richard Briggs toku ingoa. Next slide, please, Tom. So while much of the work that Marcos has just shared focuses on building long-term energy resilience, there is some immediate challenges requiring action right now, including supporting the government's fuel response through encouraging demand-side actions. As the government's energy efficiency experts, we're leading information and business support initiatives focused on practical actions that do improve vehicle efficiency and reduce fuel and costs. We're playing a key role in the fuel response. We are approaching this from an efficiency perspective, leading a demand reduction campaign. We're supporting both households and businesses and have a particular focus on fleets. And as you all know, energy efficiency is often the fastest and cheapest form of energy security. Bulk fuel is no different, and huge opportunity as businesses and households grapple with rising energy costs. Next slide, please. EECA, and probably our marketing team in particular, hope you are familiar with our Stretch Every Tank campaign that is currently in the market. Many Kiwis are. The campaign has been hugely successful, achieving its objectives. I've got my out of step here, sorry. 50% of Kiwis can recall the campaign and the messaging. And of those that have seen the campaign, nearly half have been promoted to act. And interestingly, an interesting statistic is in the first 5 weeks, efficiency actions linked to this campaign have contributed to an estimated fuel savings more than 10 million litres, which is around $35 million of avoided costs. The opportunity for fuel savings, not surprisingly, sorry, Tom, can you go back to the previous slide? Those two seem to have got swapped around. Sorry, the opportunity, unsurprisingly, is really driver education. And so we've really had a behaviour focus. And these are great opportunities with little or no cost, but by far have the major impact. So for all drivers, we've found that 4 or 5 simple actions like checking tyre pressures, steady speed, lightening the load would equate to about $44 saving on every tank for every Kiwi. So the focus of the initiative is supporting Kiwis at an individual level, but our analysis does show that benefit to New Zealand as a whole collectively from the entire fleet of 3.5 million light cars. So for example, if just 5% of drivers adopt the actions that work for them, per week, the fuel use will be approximately 1 million litres saved, and again, $3.5 million each week. The applications of these actions actually apply to business and commercial vehicles as much as they do to cars. And then, of course, what we do recognise is for some drivers, the care is diminished somewhat when somebody else is paying for the fuel. So therefore, driver behaviour in these circumstances does require a slightly different approach. Most businesses that we've questioned have vehicle telematics, they have optimised for their journey routes, they have provided their drivers training, although that's probably more from a health and safety aspect rather than fuel efficiency. But when you dig deeper, that the telematic data, if it's captured, is not regularly analysed, and when it is, it's so long from a learning event opportunity to be of very limited value to the business or the driver. Any route optimisation may not have been with fuel efficiency in mind, and driver training is quite possibly a one-off undertaken as part of an induction process and certainly not an ongoing opportunity. And anticipatory driving benefits apply even more to heavy vehicles than to passenger cars, and of course a compounding gain in efficiency due to the increased mass of big vehicles. So 10% can be saved from managing that momentum, predicting the need to slow down, gentle inputs into the vehicle motion. In addition, another 5% we've identified can be saved from reduced idling. Idling is a typical behaviour norm, particularly with heavy truck drivers, and it's not unusual for a truck to sit idling for 5 minutes or more every time they come to a stop in their operation during the day. And with long-haul trucks now consuming up to 80,000 litres a year, the savings are absolutely significant. Tom, can you jump 2 slides, please? So TR Group is New Zealand's market leader in specialised commercial heavy vehicle leasing and rental, and I think they've got access now to well over 10,000 vehicles in operation, with a significantly, probably the largest market share in the country. So we've partnered with them to offer in-cab coaching for customers. So in-cab coaching is a session conducted by an experienced expert trainer and uses the vehicle on the vehicle route. So this allows real-time feedback with absolutely no impact on operational productivity. So the trainer coaches on speed management, braking, cornering, and various hazard responses with a focus on observation, anticipation, as I mentioned, and planning, as well as how best to utilise the driver's in-cab technology that's available. The feedback is given in the moment, immediately, and that gives the opportunity to correct any bad habits as they occur and not an opportunity to debrief later. There's also a written report that's provided summarising the session. In addition to this, EECA's developed a number of other support programs for vehicle fleets, and I'll get Paul to talk about that shortly. We do have a fuel savings calculator on our website that can monetize savings from input using your own data. So more of these best practice reminders and areas to save fuel are on our website. Paul, over to you.
Thanks, Richard. I was reminded this morning that 2/3 of all vehicle journeys in New Zealand are less than 6 kilometres. And some of the stats get pretty ugly as you start to delve into that as to how many journeys are under 1 and 2 kilometres. So I think there's a fine balance there. Some health benefits of actually walking the distance rather than driving the car some days. Next slide, thanks. So since the last EECA market update, we have launched into the diesel savings fuel savings campaign, and so there's a whole lot of information that's new on our website. The search function is particularly good on the EECA website. Type in support for fuel savers and it'll take you straight to the page. Page probably looks similar to this. Next slide, thanks. So lots of useful information, trying to make it usable, readable, and useful for anyone that wants to help on that education or look for some practical tools. Richard's talked about the in-cab training, which is on one of those pages. On the next slide, I'm going to talk about our fleet study pilot that we've launched. So one of 2 tools that we've launched that will provide some co-funding for. Here we're looking to provide some support for enterprises that haven't done a review of their fleet, maybe don't have telematics data, and so looking at the vehicles in the fleet that maybe could be better utilised or maybe even removed from the fleet. Which might lead on to some additional work in terms of better optimising the fleet and using the right vehicle for the right activity. As we were pulling this together, had a conversation with the council in the South Island, and one of their biggest bugbears was the guys or the girls would go and jump in the ute to drive 5 or 6 k's down the road to do a job when they could just have easily have jumped in something like a Yaris hybrid, significantly far more fuel efficient, but that is the challenges of a fleet. The other offering that we've got on the next slide is the fleet optimization. So here looking to provide some support for entities that have got telematics data. Conversations we've had with a number of operators is there's lots of data. Often it's been used for health and safety, hard braking, hard acceleration, those types of activities. But there's lots of great information in there that can be useful to helping optimise the fleet and try and drive some fuel efficiency in there. So 2 new offerings on our website, along with the in-cab training. And then we've also looked at the other use for diesel in business aside from the yellow gear or off-road, and that's where it's been burnt as a boiler fuel. So we've launched 3 offerings which look very similar to the work program we've got going for natural gas in the North Island. So walkthrough assessment where an energy consultant would come onto site for maybe 45 minutes to an hour, have a wander around the site, look at how energy's been used, look for some energy efficiency opportunities, which might be more than just the use of the diesel boiler, to help manage some of your energy costs leading into that energy efficiency first, and then give you a few options in terms of what switching away from diesel as your boiler fuel into the future might look like. Quick piece of work, EECA's 100% funding that study. We've got a cap of $3,000 on that piece of work, and we've talked to our consultants that have agreed to do the service to ensure that there is no cost to you as the as the business are undertaking that study. And for those wanting to go a little bit further, Type 3 energy audit, so looking deeper into the energy efficiency and some level of costings on the switching out to renewable energies as a replacement for your diesel fuel into a boiler. And then a feasibility study for those that want to and need to consider a couple of options and building towards that business case. We've been running the same program, as I say, for natural gas users in the North Island. Yesterday, I was in Hawke's Bay, where we were running a workshop for gas users. It's the 9th workshop that we've run in this series, had over 400 people in attendance across those workshops. Yesterday's workshop was getting the people that have already done some preliminary work and considering biomass in either the form of wood chip or wood pellet as their potential energy source going forward, and helping them understand the availability of that as a product and as a technology. So I had fuel suppliers and equipment suppliers in the room, plus a couple of site visits. This leads on well from the work program EECA's been doing over the last 6 or 7 years with particularly the larger enterprise, where we've been helping them understand what that asset replacement program can look like, and folds into the RETA program that we've done. And Anand, a little later on, is going to share some of the insights around energy use in New Zealand. So if there's an opportunity for EECA to assist as you're wanting to transition away from natural gas or diesel, certainly have a look at the information on our website in the first instance, and always happy to get one of the team to give you a call and have some conversation to help direct and steer you in the right direction. Just do need to remind you, the Q&A function, please start putting your questions in there as they come to mind, and we'll get on to addressing those. But without any further ado, I am going to pass over to Dan to take us through smart EV charging. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for that, Paul, and good morning, everyone. My name's Daniel Barber, so I'm the manager of EECA's regulations and compliance team. And as Paul mentioned, I'm just going to give a quick update on some recent developments related to EV chargers. So you may be aware that 2 weeks ago, the Minister for Energy announced that Cabinet had agreed to the development of regulations requiring electric vehicle chargers supplied in New Zealand to have smart functionalities and comply with labelling and other information requirements. So these requirements there to apply to chargers with a maximum charge rate above 2.4 kilowatts. So that means those lower powered trickle chargers that typically come with an EV won't be covered by the regulation because they're usually well below 2 kilowatts. Now, as EV uptake grows, this is a big step towards making sure charging works better for both consumers as well as the electricity system. Busy times on our electricity network, like winter evenings, play an outsized role in driving power bills up because power poles and wires and electricity generation are generally built to cater for those relatively short spikes in demand. And so these busy times can be reduced by being flexible about when we use electricity, sometimes called demand flexibility. And this is about consumers of electricity changing when they use electricity in response to signals from the electricity market, so we can smooth out that demand. So, I mean, that shifting, it can be done manually, but the real opportunity for low effort gains is in smart technology like smart EV chargers to operate appliances automatically without compromising a household's heating, hot water supply, or EV charging, and ideally without the users even noticing. And of course, with consumers having the ability to override signals, like if they really need a quick charge at a peak time on the grid. Now, Cabinet's decision to regulate EV chargers is informed by consultation undertaken by MBIE with EECA input in the last year, and that covered a range of options to encourage the uptake of smart EV chargers. And so now EECA and MBIE, we're currently working on what these regulatory requirements and smart functionalities could look like. There'll be plenty of opportunity to feed in your view on the proposed requirements. We don't have a specific date consultation at the moment, as I guess the work is underway now on what the proposed requirements could be, and we'll also need to receive the minister's approval to go out and consult. But we are aiming to consult later this year, and so signing up to EECA's newsletter is the best way to be informed about any upcoming consultations, and will give, I guess, a forward view of the consultation opportunity that'll be coming up. Now, EECA's been quite open about our interest in unlocking the potential from demand flexibility in smart devices. At the end of last year, EECA consulted on a green paper that was talking about end-use product functionality of residential products. And so these requirements for EV chargers are the first cab off the rank, basically. And so it's an important opportunity to engage with industry and the public to ensure that the proposed requirements for regulating smart products are appropriate and effective. Another point is that EECA is not currently able to regulate for smart functionality or demand flexibility, but work is underway on proposed changes to the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act so that we can. So the government announced policy decisions in November 2024 to deliver a more effective regulatory regime for EECA that can better respond to the latest market developments and support a smarter electricity system. And so we're currently working with MB and the Parliamentary Council Office on the drafting of the associated bill to give effect to those decisions. The proposed changes will enable regulation beyond energy efficiency so that we can include other factors necessary to enable demand flexibility, like interoperability between devices and service providers in the electricity system. And we see this package of amendments as vital to enabling the widespread uptake of smart technologies. And so we have the regulations and rules for EV chargers being developed parallel to the legislative process for updating the Act. And that's being done to avoid delay so that the rules can be introduced quickly once the bill passes. That was the update for now, so I hope that was a useful update. And again, I encourage you to sign up to the EECA newsletter to stay informed of upcoming opportunities to be involved. Thank you. I'll now pass over to Anand to talk about Energy End-Use Database and Times NZ.
Good morning, Morena. My name is Anand Krishnan. I'm a lead data analyst here at EECA. We have a range of data tools available on our website for public consumption, and I'm going to touch on two of them today. So I'm going to talk about the Energy End-Use Database and Times NZ. The Energy End-Use Database, we commonly refer to it as EEUD, is a foundational data set used by EECA, created by EECA and used by EECA. It gives us a current state view of energy use across New Zealand to a very granular level. Times NZ is a scenario modelling tool that explores particular scenarios, possible futures and particular scenarios in terms of energy in New Zealand. So the Energy End-Use Database available on our website, it's about to be updated with the most current data in a couple of weeks. What is it? It is a unique and authoritative database that expresses how energy is used across New Zealand, across the New Zealand economy. We publish it annually every year, and it gives us a view of energy consumption across 4 different dimensions. So we break the data down into sector detail, fuel types, end users, and technologies. So it's a very granular picture that can be drilled into here. That the screenshot there is a picture of the landing page. If you go to the website and find it, that's what you'll see. Tom. So this is another cut of data in the tool. We allow for users to explore the data with a variety of different visualizations. Here we have a Sankey chart here, and on the side, you can manipulate the data by choosing various different filters. The data exists at 2 levels. It is aggregated and a disaggregated level. So what we see here is the aggregated view of fuel groups and how they're used. The orange represents fossil fuels, electricity blue, and green are renewables. And it's how they're used. We can also break the data down into its disaggregated view where you will see specific fuel types as well. You can drill down into sector detail as well. So you can look at specific sectors. Here, we've drilled into dairy product manufacturing. In particular, this is quite interesting. We see coal consumption decreasing across the sector over the last 7 years or so. There's a clear trend downwards. So that was the Energy End Use database. Now we'll touch on Times very briefly. Times NZ. Times is an energy modeling tool that covers the whole energy system. So it views energy data from the supply and generation side all the way to the demand use side. And this is a collaborative tool of ours. We work closely with the Business Energy Council to develop, design, and deliver this information. So what the model does is that it seeks out the lowest cost pathway across time. It is optimized to find the least cost energy use outputs over time. We baseline data from 2023 and we project it out until 2050. Times is an international model. It is used by some 50 different countries for assessing alternative tech options and defining optimal pathways. Now, this tool is very sophisticated. To run this tool requires a vast amount of energy inputs and data inputs at the bottom level, and a vast amount of assumption building as well. We work closely with Beck and many people in industry in order to refine our assumptions in order to get the most accurate picture available. So what we've done with Times is we've created two different scenarios. One is called steady, the other is called shift. Steady represents a gradual change in the economy and the energy system across time. Shift represents a more faster structural change with some bolder assumptions built into it. The assumptions can be summarized across 4 different buckets, if you would: economic structure, technology costs, behavior, individualistic versus cooperative, and the role of gas in our future. Tom. So, as I mentioned before, we've built in 2 different scenarios, one steady and one shift, and you can see across this particular metric, which is energy emissions at the national level, how those scenarios vary across time. This tool is important for stress testing strategies. It makes trade-offs much more visible, and it's used widely across consultants and analysts in the field. So that's a taster of Times and the EUD. The EUD will be refreshed and updated in 2 weeks. With Times, we have a launch where we'll be displaying insights coming up in July, and there'll be some comms around that coming out. We encourage industry to jump into these tools, and all of our tools, in fact. They're for your benefit, and if you have any questions or feedback on the tools, please send them through. Last but not least, these tools and many of our other tools would not be possible without industry input directly. Industry's provided us with data directly. They've helped us refine assumptions. They've used the tools and come back with feedback for us. And all this information is really valuable in terms of making these tools much more usable and to be better products. So we thank you for your engagement on these tools, and please keep the momentum up. That's it. Over to Paul.
But don't run away, Anand, because I'm going to ask you a question. It's great having both of these tools, but clearly we don't want to keep them to ourselves. If someone's interested in understanding the data or using it better, what's the best way for them to get in touch with someone in the wider team?
So, using the EECA inquiries email to contact EECA with the appropriate subject matter, EEUD or Times, is one way I frequently receive communication and queries on these tools, and that's available. That should be clear on the website homepage when you go into these tools.
Thanks, Anand. Yeah, it is a good tool. It's good information. As I say, it's not something that we want to just keep to ourselves. It is there for everyone to use. So please do jump in and have a look at it. I'm looking in the Q&A section, and there's only been 3 questions come through. One of which I've typed an answer to. The other question that I published, I pushed through and said I would talk to, was a question around, I just need to find it again, sorry. It said it's an off-topic question, but I think it's quite relevant. Does EECA currently have any support for ground source heat pump information regulation submissions, particularly for feasibility studies for new buildings and/or where winter air temperature drop very low and where heating does not require high temperatures? It's a great question, Martin. Thanks for putting it through. Yeah, EECA over the years has supported a number of ground source heat pump projects, particularly in the Christchurch area, as part of the rebuild program post-earthquake. So lots of customers that we can see ground source heat pump working particularly well. And yes, it does get cold in Christchurch in winter. So always happy to have a conversation about how we can support any enterprise make a right decision on the right energy source. And so, Martin, if you want to reach out, have a conversation specifically about the facility that you're supporting, happy to see how EECA can support either by way of one of our support funding programs or putting in touch with customers using the product in the real world to understand the nuances of that system and how to build a successful energy system using ground source heat pump. Seeing a bunch of other questions coming through. One here from Mike. Have you considered the role of energy storage as heat and costs in times scenarios? So Anand, I'm going to pass to you for a comment. And while you're gathering your thoughts on that, I'm also going to say that in terms of our EECA's future work program, we see thermal storage as a great opportunity to help with demand flexibility, particularly if processes got some surplus heat at a particular point in time, and we can put it into thermal storage. It's not a technology that's largely used other than water storage in New Zealand, so certainly keen for conversation around what that might look like practically for a customer. But Anand, I'm not sure if you got any comments from the energy end-use database perspective.
I think for Mike Harvey's question, I think we'll have to come back to him on that. That's pretty much, yeah. We'll need Luke's view on that as the driver of the tool. Yvonne Matthews has a question that I could answer online though.
Jump straight to it.
Is there any possibility of doing a regional disaggregation of EUD in the future? Absolutely, there is. It's something that we are actively working on. It's a very difficult thing to do, and we currently have a draft methodology that may well get us over the line, but it's going to take a bit more time. I can't give you any time frames, Yvonne, but you can be assured that we are actually actively working on it. In the meantime, I would direct you to our regional heat demand database and also our our RETA map database as well. So those databases express a regional picture, not a complete regional picture in terms of total energy, but it's certainly a significant data set to use. They are essentially process heat data sets.
Thanks, Anand. Questions are starting to flow in, many from people that I've had conversations with over the last few weeks. I just pushed through Michelle's question around fleets. So for any of you, if you go and have a look at those pages on our website, it specifically says who is in scope and who is not in scope. And so in terms of Michelle's question, local government is definitely in scope for fleet assistance. So team's happy to have some conversation in that space. Just super conscious of taking everyone's time. There's a couple of questions that we'll respond to offline that we haven't pushed through at this point in time. We'll give you the opportunity to just jump in with the last couple of questions, but I am going to call time and give you back the remaining 15 minutes in this hour, which will enable you to just attend to whatever you need to before your 12 o'clock meetings. Really appreciate everyone taking some time out of their day to dial into the session, trusting that the information was useful. If you want to have more conversation, please just do reach out to us and we'll put the right person in touch with you. Thanks again for dialing in, and we'll let you know when the next one's coming up in around 3 months' time. Thanks, everybody.